about the fans and how important they are to the game, Pep Guardiola recently said before the lockdowns and all started, he was one when they were still having the discussion of closed door games and things like that. He was saying that there's no point in playing these games behind closed doors because we play for the fans. So I wanted to know what your opinion on while we're in this lockdown situation. If this keeps on going on forever, do you think it would be a good idea to play behind closed doors?
I think it's a very interesting conversation. I think a lot depends on commercial comes into play.
Yeah.
So you almost have health, the health of the players, the health of the fans, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then you've got the commercial side. Because nowadays there's so much money in sponsorship, there's so much money in broadcast and TV. If they don't get their content, then they can't pay, or they'll not pay the club, the league, or the federation.
Yeah.
So the club, league, and federation are dependent on that money.
Yeah.
And I think that is where our issue is. And what I'd be saying is you should always be trying to maximize all revenue streams. But if you're a club, a league, or a federation, and you're solely focused on one revenue stream, i.e. broadcast revenue, then days like and times like this see how vulnerable you are. In other words, you need to make sure you've got several revenue streams coming in and not just reliant on one. Because if one drops, and it's an important one, where does that leave the club? It's not a sustainable model. So I think that's something that I would put out there. I think the other thing is, because there's so much money now on TV, broadcast rights, I think the leagues and the clubs want to give something to be able to finish off the season or to do the event. And if that means that there's no fans at the event, but they broadcast it behind closed doors, it would be surreal. Yeah. It would be probably not a great experience because you'll miss the fans. But if it's to satisfy the commercial pressures, then I would say these opportunities will be definitely discussed, if not implemented, in the short term at least.
Yeah. So what would you think? I mean, I'm praying that this doesn't happen, but if suppose we don't get a vaccine in a year's time, not even a year's time, if we're in the same situation in October, November, December, that time, if they still had to continue with like football leagues and stuff, would you think it would be a good idea to even at that point have it at closed doors, or open up the stadium but reduce the amount of people who can actually enter, make the seats distance? What would you suggest to carry on with the game?
I think if we don't get a vaccine and if we don't get a hold of the virus in each country, it will be, everything's going well, social distancing, can relax, you can go outside. Then as we mix together and we don't get things right, we'll be back down in lockdown. Then we'll be back okay, then back in lockdown, then okay. And that could be over a year. So for me, I actually think a very interesting conversation is, how do we change the traditional league format? Now, I'm a traditional sports guy, so I play my league, and that makes a lot of sense. But for 1 year, do we have to have a change in having mini leagues, mini blitzes, mini tournaments? So if there is a lockdown, it doesn't have the same impact.
Can you explain that? How would that change? How would that change the impact?
So let's say we do not get let's say we get the hold of the virus between now and July. So we're all good, but no vaccine. Let's say the virus comes back in September. We're in the same situation. So what we might have to do to be flexible is to have weekends of games on. That's cup type activity, tournament type activity, rather than a full season in football terms from September until May, because you may not get the full season because you might be in lockdown, then released, in lockdown, then back to normal, in lockdown, back to normal. And if that happens during a full year, that's going to be very difficult to implement a league season. So unless we get a vaccine and unless we play behind closed doors and everything's behind closed doors and there's a vaccine, I think we could struggle to get another league season 100% completed. And if we struggle to get a league season 100% completed in 1 year, just for 1 year, how do you try to make sure you can do mini tournaments, mini leagues that satisfies the broadcast, satisfies the fans, etc., etc., etc. Now, if we do get a vaccine, then we're all okay, and we can go back to normality within a year. But I'm more concerned about the next year. That's where my concern is. I'm not thinking of doing this forever and a day. What I'm saying is we might need to look at the different league and tournament formats for 1 year until we really grasp. And I think part of that will be at venues is how do we test if somebody has a temperature or not? How do we implement social distancing? So these are some big areas that people are still thinking about and discussing. For me, I think it's too early days, but I get the feeling that short term it will be behind closed doors. And I think then longer, I think this idea of mini tournaments, I think is an option. And I think there'll have to be a lot of testing to test people to come in to make sure they don't have the virus when they come into a stadium. And again, that's going to take time to implement that.
Yeah, but I feel like even if you do have short tournaments continuously throughout a year, people will be so discouraged to attend such a large gathering in a stadium during this year at least, right? So I feel like that would have a huge impact on attendances.
Yeah, they'll be even more discouraged if they go to a league and they realize they've all got coronavirus. If they all just go back, you'll be even more discouraged.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying. Like, wouldn't you be discouraged from going to the game and not risk that?
Well, the latest research that I've seen is that 30% of hardcore fans will go back no matter what. 30% will probably be a little bit swayed, and the remaining 40% will not go back. Now, those figures over time will change. So what a club needs to do is those sort of fans that are a little bit iffy at this stage, they need to convince them that everything's in place to protect their health. Because that's what it has to be about, protecting the health of the fans and the players. That can be done with the players, the fans with such a large amount of people, like my background at the minute. You know, it takes only maybe 20 people in that type of thing, and all of a sudden the virus is just poof, on again. So, but what we need to do, we need to manage expectations. We need to put in place, you know, stringent rules and stringent ways to make sure that we're doing everything to protect the fans. And there is a way around it, and there is ways of doing it. So I do not want to say that everything will be closed doors. I do not want to say that there's going to be issues when you open it up again. There's always solutions, and those will start to come through over time.
So I'm really looking forward to see what's actually going to happen at the end of this and how the sporting world is going to react to this. And let's just wait and see.
Oh, you want? Yeah, go ahead.
What I would say, the bit I would say is those clubs and leagues and federations that are preparing for Plan C, they'll survive. So Plan A might be we continue back as normal, but Plan C might be do we go behind closed doors? So it's those clubs, leagues, federations that are thinking a what-if scenario, and how do they implement a what-if scenario? I would stress that clubs, leagues, and federations must be thinking of that now. Don't wait until it's too late. Look at different scenarios and what could happen.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a really interesting